have the content and the knowledge in their head, you know, so the kid who didn't get that 3 and is one of the 27 that didn't get the 3, they still have that base knowledge of which to be ready for the rigor of the college level.
I guess the question I've always had, and I can tell you that as a parent of 3 high school kids, we debate in regards to AP classes. They're more rigorous. I think the staff that's teaching these classes are outstanding and they work really hard. But if you have, and I get the core answer is to have them take AP, but if you have a kid who can take the AP class and get a B and work his tail off, or you can take the non-AP class and get an A, which is better for their grade
That's
point average?
debatable.
Well, obviously,
That's really debatable. When kids are getting scholarships, people are looking at how many AP classes and they start counting and putting dashes next to those.
how does that
So
affect
they
class
vary,
rank?
they vary GPA
Well,
and they
your
vary,
GPA is your
class rank is all GPA.
But entrance into some colleges, they do use that as a tip. So when you go to apply to UW-Madison, they do look at the amount of AP classes. If I apply at Stevens Point, maybe not necessarily. Each college, depending upon what college, so if you've got your sights set on Princeton, you've got to make sure that you do the rigor that they've asked for. And they may ask for 4 or 5 different AP classes. It's hard to make that decision as a senior. You really got to kind of know where you're going, if you're going on that level. If say valedictorian is the thing and the grade point is the biggest thing, the high grade point will get you into places, but high grade point doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get into, you know, we've had 4.0s that can't get into some of the top schools because they didn't have the AP.
Well, I mean, I think I get that, and so for parents, I would think it's a question with multiple questions to be able to answer your question and what you're thinking, but then also the grade point matters, but then you could have a 4.0 student that doesn't score well on the ACT as well, for lots of different reasons. So I get that it's a moving target, and it was kind of a canned answer, canned question, because I expected that, but I think it's worth discussing when we look at these AP classes.
Sure.
One of the things I just want you to remember, we talked about, students and class performance. You can remember in Wisconsin and Mosinee, our kids aren't walking into a classroom until September 1st or later. And that AP test is set May 6th. Every kid in the nation is taking it. Some kids have more than a month of school in, or an additional 6-7 weeks of school, not just on the front end, but if you don't have a spring break, and if depending on your school calendar, if you're in a year-round school calendar, you have a huge advantage. We're giving up 6-7
It's a
weeks
good
of
point. Some
instructional
schools are done
time.
around in the beginning of May.
So some kids are taking this test with 33 weeks of instruction. Our kids are taking it with 28, 29 weeks of instruction because of when the test is good.
All
And when they're all
Wisconsin
given
kids
on
are at a disadvantage.
A short amount of time. Our
Unless you're
kids
in a
are taking,
private school in Wisconsin.
so our kids taking 2-3 AP tests in a week. You're getting up and you're taking a 4-hour exam that just, it's tough. And you're taking a 4 exam, and have lunch, you come back and take another one. If you get up tomorrow morning, you got another one. That also, is gonna play into some of that. But there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of things that come into play.
It's interesting.
Oh, is it ever?
Once again, Richard, thank you.
You're
Is
welcome.
there any other questions? Other than cloning Richard, we could clone you and have another young Richard.
Can't beat that anyway.
I don't know.
Okay.
Be careful what you wish for.
Item 10, student board report.
We shared that with you in the board packet. I'm not sure if you have any questions. Lauren is on vacation. So she shared that with you. Lots of things, great things going on at the high
How'd the
school.
blood drive go? Do you know, do you get any?
Do you know what the percentage
I
was?
did not.
I did
know
not
the
The amount,
percentage.
I don't know what the, I was there on that day, St. Patrick Day themed blood drive. But I don't know what their percentage was.
They were pretty busy all day. I walked through there 6 or 7 times and there were always people there. They had great snacks.
Yeah.
I donated just to get a cookie. I wasn't planning on it. They had some homemade cookies.
Yeah, good things.
So-
I usually try to make it. I missed it.
Gotta give him a fake phone number though, because Oliver donated blood every time, and he put my phone number down, And so at least 20 times a year they call, they're like, we need blood. I'm like, wrong person.
I get it, yeah. They're short on blood.
Don't like needles.
Is there any other questions on the student board report? We'll move on to old business, item 11, update on the Mosinee Athletic Complex.
That's almost used. So we've installed the padded backstop. That's something that got installed. In addition, you can see to the right, you can see the fall poles that our kids made in shop class. And those sleeves were put in before, so when the kids got those done, they could drop those on in. Should be ready to go. And just a reminder of some of the work that the board did, or the National Guard did when we were tracking that equipment. We will not meet with them in March, we're actually gonna meet with them in April. To roll out what some of the tasks are that they're gonna do. Steve and I will meet with them in April.
How did our trees stand the wind?
They did not do very well over there, straight across.
Are there any other questions on the athletic complex? If not, we'll move on to item B, referendum April 2017.
Just an update, please make sure that you go to the Move Ahead Mosinee website if you have any questions or need any information to the public about the upcoming referendum. We're now only a few weeks away from our vote on the 4th. Continue to do some informational tables. Many of you may have seen that there is a Vote Yes committee that has started and is out there actively working. Again, the biggest questions I've had is the tax impact concern. If you do have that, please share that link with anybody, but thank you for coming to the meetings and continuing just to share information out there about the referendum.
It was a good turnout last.
There was.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. I think
Hopefully
the
next
videos
time
and
will be even
updates-
more.
Yes, I do, I hope so.
I hope so.
Yep. And last year, the night before was the biggest one.
Okay.
When is the next one?
The night before, Monday night before.
Monday night before?
Yeah.
Yep, April 3rd.
Last time or 2 months ago on the board, we had the school perception, we shared the contract with you that we have with them. Most recently was just a timeline for how does that run, so this is just a document that kind of shows what that timeline is. So I just wanted to share that timeline.
Is there any other questions on school perception?
Yeah. Okay. And my mind might be failing me here, but the first time we did this, the board voted to authorize the subcommittee of Diane, Matt, and myself to develop the questions and interact with Sue. Did we do that again for this one, or do we need to?
I thought we were doing the same survey.
Yeah,
I just thought we were doing the same survey.
no, but then we got together at a meeting and said we were gonna get together as a subcommittee.
Oh,
to
when I
review
brought it
that.
back.
Remember? Yeah,
Yes. So when I brought it back, so I'm not sure.
yeah, we talked about it at either last month or maybe the prior
Prior
month.
month, when
That
the
we were gonna do
proposal
the
came
same group
forward.
and review the questions so that I think you brought it up actually, that you were gonna revisit, because some of the questions you maybe wanted to put out there, that wouldn't be able to be graded, but that we could use as a comparison from the last one.
Well, we had, after getting the last one, I know some of us discussed, I know for myself, there are other areas that I think are worth exploring.
Right,
Don't cost us anything else to explore with the district, so I just wanted to make sure that if the three of us got together again, it wasn't the three of us deciding to do that, it was with the full board's understanding that we are still functioning as that subcommittee.
I don't think it requires board action, it's just if any board member object, we can have further discussion.
Well, what I'd like to see it states, relatively consistent to what last year's was. So we had something there.
I don't think there was an interest in changing any of the questions, because if we change them, then it's very difficult to do a comparison or show improvement or growth or whatever. There was a component that we were gonna add in regards to Mosinee athletics and coaching and the athletic director, which just slipped our mind last year. We didn't even consider that as part of the evaluation. So I think it's worth us going through and looking at them all and seeing we don't wanna waste anyone's time.
Then you're gonna bring that back to the board?
I would like to have a further discussion on that if we are gonna specifically target an individual that you wanna send a survey out to. I'm just saying the athletic director, I wasn't concerned about that.
I don't
is
think
it
it's,
one person, because that's just
No.
one person.
Well, we do that with all the administrators as part of this, or at least the school administrators and you as the superintendent and your staff here. So that was one of the things that we discussed. I wouldn't look at it as targeting a person, but to look at athletics as a whole. And you know, I don't know what those questions would be. That would be the purpose of sitting down and discussing it.
And
Would that be,
yes, the reason I'm concerned is because I think the whole thing came to us about the school and community perception, and I don't know if this changes it becoming all about, or a big component about athletics.
it's a bolt-on. I mean, we touched on the middle school. When you look at your admin team, we touch on the middle school, we touch on the high school, we touch on the elementary school. You know, we didn't touch on curriculum and standards, whereas another administrator. Maybe that's another area we could look at. And then athletics, I think when we look at the culture and climate, we want to touch on all of the very significant areas within the school.
So would we then be surveying people outside the school community? I mean, like, would we put that out to all of our employees, because of some of those employees like are not teachers in athletics? So we hire a number of people that are not considered, you know, this survey goes out to all of our staff, talks about curriculum instruction, but if are we now surveying all of the coaches, which aren't all of our staff? I mean, in the subcommittee, can talk about that further. But I think that we just have to take a look at that.
why don't you, bring back a proposal to the board?
Because we don't have a board meeting between now and the time you really want to have it finalized. She's looking at a survey finalization date of 4/26. I believe that is just after our next, the reorganization meeting. But we can bring it to that meeting. Looks like she's looking at a launch of 5/3. So we'd have a week to
I mean,
get that squared away.
we could touch base with Sue and find out if we push anything back a week, what does that do?
Really, I'd like the perception to be done before we evaluate, so we can use that, you know.
The school improvement teams are really the ones that have taken the data and developed goals off of that. They're looking at having that pretty, I mean, you just want to make sure that when you look at what their goals were, they took their data and they took their targets off of some of this work.
All right, everybody got enough direction? Okay, item 12, new business, discussion and possible decision, approval of the fall 2017 youth option.
Well, this time around, we do this 2 times a year. We had 3 students fill out our youth options paperwork, and these are classes they'll be taking next fall. The total number of credits with the 3 students is 19, with the tuition estimate of $2,793. The book estimate is $200 per class, which equals $1,200. So the total cost is $3,993. Anybody have any questions on youth options? I know we go over this twice a year.
Just a quick one. When they're taking a class at NTC, that credit is now transferable to most, if not all, of the UW schools as well.
Correct.
Correct?
When we see that kids are taking a lot of these classes, then we try to get them in our building so we don't have to pay for them. And we just added 3 more math classes and another
Psych.
English class, oral comm, and psych this year has been a huge success.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Diane Gorman and a second by Mark Lewis. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12B, discuss and possible decision, acceptance of statement of board of canvass of the primary election.
I'll make a motion, we accept statement of the Board of Canvassers in the primary election.
We have a motion on the floor by Matt Alice and a second by Caroline Krautkramer. Is there anyone other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, curriculum and standard committee meeting report. Richard.
We had, we had 3 extended field trip requests. One, Mr. Sweeney's proposing a trip to Washington DC. This has been around the board for a couple of years. Now Mr. Sweeney's taken it over, thank you for that. And he's organizing through a trip company, World Classrooms. So they'd like to take a bunch of 8th graders to DC upcoming. The second one was Catherine Morat's High School Art. She's organizing a St. Croix pottery tour where there's apparently a large pottery expo and a lot of folks that craft clay into pretty things. I'm not very artsy myself. So they'll be taking that tour through the art club. Low cost to the students of about $5. And she's also organizing a trip to the Minneapolis Institute of Art as well as the Weissman Art Museum for about 35 students that are currently taking art. Those 2 trips especially will help those students tie in and see how some of their art is presented because, as Nate was talking about additional classes, we also have advanced placement studio art starting up next fall where kids will be displaying their wares as well as taking photographs and videos of the things they produced, sending them off to an AP judging panel to see if how they score that way nationally. And the final thing on our agenda was just an update on our district curriculum goals and processes, stripped down version of the presentation I gave this evening. So.
And don't forget about the key. Making the key for the website. Of all the definitions.
Yes, yes.
Do we,
Stop using teacher speak when I fall into the teacher speak habit. And you notice I got rid of all of it in our presentation. So thank you for your formative feedback, Diane. I use it to do better because, I can say RTI 100 times a day, but I have to remember
What does that mean?
that ELA, English Language Arts.
I'm getting pretty good at those things.
I will make the motion to approve B, C, and D for the field trips.
we have a motion on the floor by Diane Gorman and a second by Caroline Krautkramer. Any other discussion? Richard, are we going to have somebody do art for WASBA?
Oh, do you need someone to do art for WASBA?
Well, they can always enter the
They can enter.
competition.
Oh, let me make a note to self, get some information. I'll bet we can find someone that wants to enter some art for WASBA.
And they also have music too, so our band and choir can also put in to perform at the convention.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to see.
Yeah,
Art
we'd like
and
to see
music.
it.
Yeah, yes, I will be there.
Okay, I'll see if I can make that happen.
It's on roll.
Is there any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 14, Personnel Committee.
Our committees are in the full board meeting, as you can tell today. So coming forward to you is a request, our 4K staffing. Katie is our 4K coordinator. Thank you, Katie, for doing it. Katie just had enrollment, right? And as we're taking a look at our enrollment, we do have different community sites currently. Mosinee Preschool, Storybook, St. Paul's, and Head Start, and we pay those sites per child for providing that 4K education. In early August, our 4K enrollment increased, and we asked all of our sites to please service those increased numbers of 4K. We are by law required to offer those. We asked the sites to do that, and we did not have a taker at that time. So we opened that up, and we offered 4K at our site. We hired a temporary halftime 4K teacher, and we're pretty excited about that. It's halftime because they only meet a couple times a week. We made that contract temporary because we were unsure, is this good, is this, do parents want this, do parents want to go to a site? Because the sites often offer that wraparound care. So if you're not there on Monday, they still offer care and your child is going to the same place every day. And many parents really like that and appreciate that. However, when we went into open enrollment this time, we do have a number of parents that are interested in coming to our site. We would not anticipate having more than 1.5 sections. And if we, again, this would be fluctuating, every year you would kind of have to take a look at this on how many sections, what space do we have open, do we want to offer it or not. So looking for approval to, the costing is there, looking for approval to hire the 1.5 teachers and the support staff for those students.
Also,
I'll second. Any discussion?
yes. So how many sections in our satellite sites do we have today?
We have one at Head Start, we have one at St. Paul's, we have 2.5 at Mosinee Preschool, and then we have 2 at Storybook.
That's today.
Yes, and
How
one
many
at
do we
our
have
building.
next year?
And we just met with the 4K directors on Friday.
Mhm.
And what did they say for the numbers?
2 at Mosinee Preschool, she could do 3. They'd just be smaller class sizes, which isn't a bad thing for 4K. 12 is a great number to have for 4K. Mosinee, or Storybook is at 1. She's big though, it would be a bigger class. Head Start will have their 1 section. St. Paul does not have a full section yet. And then we have 27 students at our site signed up for next year.
So do we offer site selection today? We do? to
We
the
give
parents?
choice, yep.
We give choice.
Mhm.
Do
So we
we
did-
always honor choice?
We did an online enrollment form, so they had a choice of 1, 2, and 3. And so then we placed them in their first choice. If there was a reason, like if Mosinee Preschool couldn't take any more students, then they'd get their second choice.
Okay.
And then we offered, when we met with the directors, one of the concerns is, can you push more towards us? St. Paul's was concerned because they were low in enrollment. And we offered numbers and that they were free to contact the parents and say, because some parents may not realize that wraparound care occurs. And they maybe want that type of care. So we just want to provide great 4K education to our kids, recognizing that.
I'm just a little concerned that I would rather see is have those other sites, make sure that they're full, because my understanding is when we opened it here was because, like we said, there was no other room. I don't know if I like the idea of us opening up here first or giving them that choice here, when it really was kind of what Brent uses the word as a blip for this year. So my concern is taking away business from these other sites that eventually they could go away because they don't have the students.
Our concern came from the parents requesting that they do.
Oh, I understand
Do
that.
you know what I
get-
mean?
yep.
So if you say to that parent, if I say to that parent, I'm sorry, you have to go to Storybook, St. Paul's, then
Right.
you will have a lot of parents coming forward and asking you to be at our site, because then how do you choose? Is it a lottery that they get to come to our site versus Storybook, Preschool, St. Paul's,
Right,
because
no, I know
what
what
if
you're
we
saying,
have-
I get that.
And we talked quite at length with our providers, and we just said to them, create that great program, create a program where parents want to be, create those additional services. We don't offer any of those additional services. I have no place for your child to go on Tuesday, the day that you don't come to 4K. So you have they have a lot to offer parents. And if they have the good staff and if they have the good program, parents will go there.
I'm worried about the messaging of something like this lens, because you have satellite locations who've invested a lot of money and resources in their program. And I don't want to give the appearance that we're taking kids from them, because honestly, you give parents the choice, and the elementary school is an option, most of them are gonna opt in, especially if you have kids in the elementary school, which makes sense. I'm just worried, it's a delicate message for us to, we're gonna honor all choices, and we'll add the staff as necessary at the elementary school, because now you're gonna, this year it's 1.5 sections, next year it's 2, maybe the year after that it's none. It's
Do you think we should just keep
stability in the school.
the
at the same
section
time.
open that we currently have? And when that's full, they have to push them off those other sites?
What are you gonna say to the parents? How are you gonna choose who gets that site?
Well, that's what I'm saying,
How
but
will
that's
you
why,
choose that
well,
site?
what was it done before? It was kind of basically a first come, when storybook was full, then they'd have to put us.
We never had a site here.
No, but
So-
what I'm just saying, currently what we have available, if we just fill that right now with what the parents are out there, okay? Then the ones that chose would have
That's
to
1.5, that's what we're saying, we're not gonna fill anymore. So all we're doing is the ones that chose to come, that's all. That's why we met with the 4K directors last week, and Katie meets with them all the time. But that's why we met with them, because we don't have the space, Diane, to have all those other sites. We don't,
Oh, exactly.
we don't have the space to have 9 sites, we don't have that.
But
And they recognize that as well, the directors recognize that as well.
we're allowing choice though, and if St. Paul's has 5 kids that choose, and St. Paul says, guess what? 5 kids doesn't constitute a program, parents. You take them elementary school, and then next year, Mosinee preschool has 20 kids, 10 for each section. We're not gonna do this. You take them Mosinee Elementary School. Now we gotta find room for all these kids.
We do, or we do an alternative site. The room doesn't have to be at our school either. Do you know what I mean? Then you're right, we will have to provide, it could be here, we could rent a space. We could rent a building downtown. We do have to provide it, I mean, and that's what put us in a.
Well, this is what I heard last year, that we opened this up because we needed it.
We went to every single
Right,
site and asked them.
and I
Yeah.
truly believe you, so I guess what I'm conflicted about is it was going to be for this purpose. And I hear exactly what you're saying, because you give parents a choice, they are going to choose what's convenient and what. But if we don't open that second class, they cannot choose that. And you don't have to worry about, yes, some parents are gonna have to be turned away. But I still feel in the community that those spots should be filled way before we should. That's my thought, and I do hear what you're saying.
But what do you do with the parents that
That's
really
just the
want our
way it
site,
goes.
Katie? Do you know what I mean? I mean, how
Last
do
year,
you,
I'm sure there's some that wanted to leave where they were and come here too.
and we allow them.
I think there's,
Do you know, I mean, and that's how we started with just a few kids, but we did allow them. We really just want to provide good, solid 4K education for our students, and some parents had students with a lot of challenges that definitely benefited from being a part of
And I'm not gonna
Our-
deny that.
our school versus Jeff always running over to one of our community sites, providing support and help, and Katie, you know, I think that's what it's all about,
you know,
is providing a
I
good.
recall during our conversations last year when we approved this that, at least I remember being involved in a conversation where we forecasted that if we build it, they will come, you know, the Field of Dreams line, right? Well, we built 4K at the elementary school, and I understand why parents want to bring their children to the elementary school. One is simply the amount of staff that's there, the other kids that are there, the environment that's there. And my only concern with this whole process, I think it's a better place. I think it's easier for Katie to supervise what's going on when it's, the more that's centrally located, the better. But in regards to the organizations out in the community, you're right, Ann, if they were providing top-notch, well-known services to these kids, I don't think they'd have this struggle. Are all these created equal? Are they all meeting our expectations and our standards? I'm not aware of whether they're good, they're not good. Why wouldn't some parents like that? Or are they not in the know on it because they're new parents with 4-year-olds?
Well, they to meet our curriculum in order for them to be recognized. So, and I would be careful with saying that they're not providing top notch.
I said I don't know if they
Right.
are.
So I'm just worried again, because you know, you never wanna take away, maybe the thought of, before we did something was of offering that choice, we shouldn't have put that choice out there before the other sites were built.
Well, we
I don't
didn't
know
put
that
that
they were
choice out
filled.
there yet, right?
They were filled
Right,
last
so
year.
We
they,
didn't, that's why we're here.
no, they
No.
enrolled in
It's already
February, they enrolled, so we had open enrollment, we couldn't predict. We
Right,
couldn't
but-
So
necessarily
we've-
predict what it's,
All right. As a parent with elementary age children, my wife and I select teachers too when we can. We don't always get them, but I still rely on the bus if I use it to get my kids to school and get them home. It's no different here. Parents may want their kids in the elementary school unless they have good reason or the district understands good reason. They can ask, but that doesn't mean they receive. Because we still provide transportation to all 4K kids
Yes.
in and out of the 4K facilities.
My thought on this is, I just want to educate as many children here as possible. Because after a while, when school choice begins, I want them to get grounded in our community school. Any other debate? Not? Let's see.
I guess one question I would have is, and I know there's a financial impact here, and I'm sorry I didn't do the math. Who's more cost effective to educate a 4K student at Mosinee Elementary School site or a 4K student at one of these satellite locations?
it's pretty equal.
Okay.
Because what you don't see is we give a certain amount of money per student.
Right.
Okay, so, but that doesn't include Katie's cost in the salary that we're paying Katie. It doesn't include Brady going over to the sites and Brady providing the, when Brady goes over there.
Which I go over there, I mean, somebody from our team's over there every couple weeks, just like Jeff's over there, I mean,
Mary's got staff that travel to all these.
we're constantly investing to go over the place.
So they get a certain amount of dollars. And then dollars are also allocated in our budget for Brady, for Mary, for Katie, for Jeff, for all of that. So, it's not, so it's just, it's a horse piece what we're educating.
Okay.
I mean, time,
I mean, I just wanted to know
Not a
if all of a
huge
sudden
impact.
we can educate a child for $2,500 at the elementary school, but it costs us $35,000 or $4,000 to educate them at St. Paul's. Well, then that's also a component of the conversation, but if it's negligible, then.
well, it's not, it honestly depends on those children and what their needs are. Again, you can have one child that doesn't cost $2,300 to educate, but cost a lot more because of the resources that we put into it. So,
But we would put those same resources into them whether they're there or at the elementary school, so that part is
Right.
kind of moved to the conversation.
and as Brent would tell you, we're probably not in this to make or break, we're not in this to make money or save money, you know what I mean? The 4K program works there. In other words, even Brent wouldn't say, let's go do it there because it's cheaper.
Wow.
I think directly our approach on this whole thing is wrong. What I would do is talk to the site and say, how many sections do you want to offer? You get that number, understand how many students you have coming in, and then decide, do we need to add a section? Because right now, you think Mosinee Preschool wants 2 or 3, but you're waiting to see how many parents select that site to make that decision.
Well, that's why we met with them on Friday, and who is, I think they're pretty set in what they're gonna offer next year. The only one that is not set is St. Paul's, but the other sites are pretty clear on what they're gonna offer.
And does that clarity require a section at the middle school? Because now you have a different message to tell the board in making their decision. And I don't see that from the information provided.
You don't see
You know what
that,
I'm saying, do we not have enough? For instance, first grade, it's 6 sections we can cover. The last thing I wanna do is have 7 sections of kindergarten for 6 sections of kids. Because at some point, these sites that aren't filled are gonna say, this isn't working for us, we're losing money on this deal. So you gotta understand how many sections you wanna offer based on how many kids you have coming in, communicate that, and if these satellite locations don't wanna do that, then you add something at the elementary school like we did last year. This doesn't tell me how many kids are coming in and how many,
Mosinee preschool has how many sections, Katie, for next year?
They have 42 students, so it would be just about 3 sections. She would run 3 sections with 40
So
students.
she has 3 sections, and this we just got from our meeting. Storybrooke has how many?
Storybook has,
How many sections?
it's like 1.5.
St. Paul's currently had 1.
Currently this year,
Tim said,
1 this year.
yeah.
The
1
Storybook,
section.
if you're going with this year, Storybook had 2.
Yeah. And Head Start has 1 section.
Katie, ideally, how many children are in these sections?
18, they pushed to 2021, which is really high.
That's
I mean, if you
fabulous.
walk into our 4K class with 14 kids, and we actually have Mr. Sean here, who's the assistant there, he can tell you that even 14 kids, they're 4 years old. So I was in there and we were all hands-on. Jeff is in there quite often. I mean, we have to remember they're 4 and they need a lot of guidance and a lot of structure and a lot of assistance. So these sites could run their, I mean, Missy and Vicky, they can run at 14, 15 kids and still be a full section.
Yes, and of course you want at that age the lower numbers.
Correct.
I was thinking it was 12. You know,
How many total preschool 4K enrollees do we have next year?
We have 100 as of today.
But it's still open?
Yes.
what do we have this past year?
With 138.
It's still open and people will come in August. That's really why we wanted to make sure that we at least had the staffing ready.
Okay, is there a way to forecast what you think that ultimate number is gonna be?
We used the population study that we did, and I think we've got 110, 115, maybe 110. So, like, when we met with the directors on Friday, we said to them, we won't go over a section and a half. We would have them go to your sites.
so what I'm hearing now, this is more or less being ahead of the curve because it sounds like it's gonna come back to us anyway.
Well, we wanted to be prepared for the section and a half and just set it, and maybe it'll be low. I mean, we talked about that on Friday. Maybe we'll be low, we won't fill it to 14, but we certainly don't want to in August be looking for a
That's what
teacher.
I'm saying.
I don't want to, and they don't want to be looking for their staffing. Everybody wants to know where we're staffed. So we went through it on Friday with what are our numbers. And so each person kind of said where they were at, what they needed. And one of the sites said I could have room for 9 more students. And we shared with them, here's the phone number, here's the names of the parents. You want to be able to offer to them that wraparound care. Maybe they would be interested in that.
So, I know I'm asking for something you already provided, but outside of, or counting what you currently have authorized at the elementary school, plus the external sites, how many sections total do we have?
Here.
Yeah, we didn't finish
We
that.
have-
So you have 3 sections up here on the screen for you. 1.5 at there, we have 1 at St. Paul's, 1 at Head Start, 1.5 right now.
Okay, but that's, we have 3 sections right now, today?
No, this is what we're
proposing.
predicting for, this is what the numbers that we have enrolled for next school year, this is the numbers that we have enrolled for next school year. These are the parents that have signed up. These are the parents that have signed up, and this is the place that this is what we have for 17.
So if you end up with 110 4K students and you want a target of 14 students per section, that's 7.8, call it 8 classes. If the target is 14.
Yeah, and we have 8 sections right now scheduled for next school year. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2 halves, 7, 8. That's what we have scheduled.
Okay, so I see St. Paul's has one section, but they still have.
But they may not, right, he's got a low number, Tim has a low number. But we also talked about different things that maybe they could offer that the other sites weren't, that, you know, why do they wanna go to Storybook, what happens there? That, so Tim and I met, after our meeting and talked through that, you know, quite a while.
This is too much of a crapshoot every year.
Yeah.
And you've got to sit down with these people and say, are you offering a section or aren't we? And if you are, we will fill it. Because we'll treat it just like any other grade in the elementary school, and we'll give you choice, but you may have a first choice and a second choice. That's where my, I mean, St. Paul's, you might be planning on them to have a section and they may come forward with none. Because you can't plan the way we're
Right.
currently doing this.
Which is why well, I think we can plan, Matt. That's why this isn't a crapshoot from our end. We've sat down, we have had parents enroll in it, and we're bringing forward to you a request for a teacher and a half. It's not a crapshoot. We have that many kids that have requested to be with us. So, and we told each site that we're not going to have any more than that. And could they absorb, if we anticipate 9 more kids, could you absorb that? And they could. So we're bringing forward to you a recommendation after we've met with all of the sites and after we've had our students tomorrow.
Any more discussion? Do you have a roll call vote, Jean?
T-West. Foreman?
No.
Kaiser?
Yes.
Kramer?
Yes.
Zebro?
Yes.
Alice?
No,
Barnes?
No.
We have 4 yes and 3 no.
Motion carries.
I would suggest we improve the process somehow. This is just gonna be,
I know where you're coming from.
we are supporting these satellite locations. They need to support us in return by committing to some sort of section.
Yeah, good commitment for
But
that.
then you have to go
Absolutely.
into our contract.
But they said no this year.
They don't want to do it, so they don't want to do it.
Okay, item D, discussion and possible decision, approval of the elementary school teacher first grade hire.
So we're excited to, Katie, you wanna share?
Sure. We interviewed last week on Tuesday, 6 different candidates, and we found our top candidate for first grade, Katie Rip, who's with me here tonight. She currently teaches in Wausau at an elementary school, 2nd grade. Highly qualified, she even taught in Korea, English, to students over there. She's involved not only within the school and the curriculum, but outside school activities. Book bowl co-chair, flag football coach. They run Kids on the Grow.
Growing great minds.
Growing Great Minds now, they changed the name, but they're all different kinds of activities, so she participates in those before school. The students come, they can come at 7:30 and stay with her till 8:30 and learn things from tap dancing to gardening, just all sorts of different activities. So we're really excited to have Katie join our team.
I'll make a motion to approve Katie Ritt as our elementary school teacher first grade hire.
I'll second it.
We have a motion on the floor by Matt Alice and a second by Mark D. Wiss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, Discussion and possible approval of the elementary school teacher, second grade hire.
Okay, do you wanna talk about our second
Oh,
grade?
sorry, yes, I sure will. You go. Nope. Okay, our second candidate for second grade, comes from Wassa as well. And she currently teaches at Franklin Elementary School, third grade. Melissa has 12 years of experience. Again, she, highly involved in PBIS, technology, excellent candidate for the position. Our committee thought she was great, so she's our second choice for our second grade teacher.
Can I just add that I know Melissa really well, and both she and her husband are Mosinee residents. They've had 3 kids come through the school district. The final twins are graduating this year. And I haven't seen another family, both between she and her husband, who are more involved in the Mosinee school district, so I strongly support this thing.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Matt Barnes and a second by Mark D. Wiss. All in favor, or any other? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item D, discussion and possible decision, approval of the high school math teacher hire.
Mr. Lynn helped coordinate that for us, so we
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Lynn.
Just
We interviewed 4 candidates over 2 different days. We had one candidate who is going to be moving to the area, and she applied towards the end of the process, just as we were setting up interviews, so she wasn't able to be here for the original round of interviews. She's got a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Clemson. She's been teaching math on and off, and she's been teaching Project Lead the Way engineering courses. Came with stellar recommendations, solid grades. We asked some specific math questions in our interview. She had all the right answers and how to do things well, you know, right out of the gate. So she's going to be joining us from Indiana, where she's been for about 10 years. And she indicated in her application, so this is something I can share. She's coming up here. She's going to get married, and we got a place out here in town. So yeah, she came looking for a job at the right time, and we had an opening for a job. We ended up, because of the way I think, having 6 different data points for each of our 5 interviewers that participate in the committee, and she ended up in average, mode, and median statistical analysis, coming up as our top choice. We offered the position, and she's accepted.
Does her background in engineering offer any additional opportunities for the school?
When we started talking in the interview, she asked a little bit, because she was looking through some things, and she saw some things about Fab Lab and outcome technology. And she was very excited to hear about the direction that we're going to be taking off in technology, and she's very excited to do what she can to integrate what she already knows in math with our Project Lead the Way courses. So yeah, she's had a lot of experience.
We're
in that.
excited to explore some of those avenues as well.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so I think she's going to be a great additional resource to the district.
Thank you, Richard.
Thanks.
Also moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor by Mike Kaiser and a second by Mark D. Wiss. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Discussion and possible decision, acceptance of the middle school special ed EBD teacher resignation. The letters in your file.
I'll make the motion, we accept the resignation.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor by Matt Alice and a second by Mark D. Wiss. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We assume thank you very much.
Absolutely. We do not have any additional resignation retirees or hires that occurred between Thursday and now. Glad to know that. An update on our new extracurricular hires. These are all just updates because they're assistants. So we have Mr. Grajulewski, Miss Orlando, and Mr. Woodville. Yeah. That's just an update.
I thank you. Okay, Finance Committee, true, Caroline Kramer.
Okay, because Beth isn't here tonight, we had our meeting on last Wednesday on March 15th. And first thing we went over was the approval for the monthly voucher list. We went over various items, no discrepancies that we're aware of. And I would like to make a motion that we accept the monthly voucher list.
Second that.
Roll call, please. Jamie?
Zero,
Yes.
Alice,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
all yes.
The second item on our agenda was approval of the monthly treasurer's report. Again, there was nothing that outstanding. We were doing very well. So I seek to have approval of the motion for the monthly treasurer's report.
Make a motion.
Second it.
Motion, roll call, please, Jamie.
Gorman,
Yes.
Kaiser,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Zero,
Yes.
Alice,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
all yes.
The third item on our list was that this year we have to look at getting a new auditor, I should say. And that is because Carlton Howard is up for sale. And so therefore, they would not give us a quote. So in your work papers, there is a quote from 4 people. The first one was Purple Rose, Hawkins Ash, Crowley Howard did give us one, but they didn't know, couldn't do it for 3 years. And then Shank. Brent went and called and got background on all the various people. And the one that we picked out to do our audit for the next 3 years is Hawkins Ash. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve the audit proposals for Hawkins Ash for the next 3 years. That would be 2016-17, 2017-18, and 2018-19.
I'll second it.
Is that a roll call too?
No, we want you to.
All in favor?
What did
Oh,
Okay.
what did you like about Hawkins and Ash? Are they familiar with schools or
Yes, yes.
also
And-
than the others?
Yes, and the people, the schools that Brent did talk to, they were very favorable for it.
Good. Just curious.
And Shank, even though it was a little bit cheaper, was just the way they treated him. He was really acceptable. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The next item on our agenda was the approval of the mid-year audit report, which was given to us by Carlton Howard. I think everybody has a copy of it. So, and there was nothing wrong, there was no problems with anything, so I make a motion that we accept the mid-year audit report. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. That was it.
That's good.
was.
Oh, yes, we did have the, I don't know if anybody attended, but March 15th was at the Capitol, and of April 20th, we have a free session in Marathon High School Library, so anybody who is willing and would like to go, it's from 7 o'clock, I believe, till 9, and you just get to meet who our WSB representatives are. Gathering and held in April. That's all I got for you.
And are we going to have the Bob Butler come in and see us at the end of April?
We are.
Are we?
Yep, we have that meeting scheduled.
I'm gonna write that one down.
I sent you an invite on that, but I can put that in the connection again. Bob Butler is scheduled, I think it's actually May 2nd that Bob's scheduled to be with us.
What is that for?
Just a reorganization, you know, just as an orientation to the board, roles
Oh,
and
the new-
responsibilities.
okay.
And what Bob offers, I think, is just an update too on new legal things that Bob has seen throughout the year. He came in last year, so Bob is gonna come in and join us again right after our reorganization meeting.
You said May 1st,
I
right?
guess May 2nd.
Oh, May
Look at that,
2nd.
Kelly.
May 2nd, at what time? Oh, I missed Right, and that's all I have for right now.
Well, thank you, Kelly. CISA report, we had the minutes in our folder. Any future agenda items? Being none, we'll move on. Movement into closed executive session. The board will go into closed executive section pursuant to section 19.85, Pren 1, Pren C, for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation, data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. We have a second, motion by Diane Gorman and a second by Caroline Krautreber. Is that a roll call? Roll call.
Alice?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
Lewis? Foreman?
Yes.
Kaiser?
Yes.
Kramer? Yes. Hebel?
We are in closed session. Do you want to take a break for a few minutes?
I resent you the invitation.